Welcome, LA Progressive friends, family, readers. I'm really delighted to be speaking with someone who is near and dear to my heart. She is my niece. And
Hi.
Falon, her name is Falon. Falon is going to be talking to us about GIS. These three initials didn't mean anything to me when she first mentioned it. And then I had to Google it and find out what GIS is and how she's involved in GIS. I'm going to let her explain. And Falon Williams, why don't you introduce yourself to the LA Progressive audience?
All right. Well, thank you for the intro. My name is Falon Williams. Pronouns are she and her, and I'm here with the grace and consideration of my aunt who allowed me to be here to introduce what GIS is, and also introduce a nonprofit that I would like to get the exposure out for, to see if anybody would be interested in supporting or attending our future conference that we have.
So when is this conference? Well, let's start off with GIS.
Okay.
What do those three initials stand for?
Yeah, so GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. It's a bit of a tongue twister. It's just easier to say GIS. And what it is essentially is just using data for spatial analysis, using a map to plot out different data sets for businesses to make decisions, to leverage resources, a variety of things. And so I typically tell people one example is Google Maps. And so everyone's familiar with that. You need to get from point A to point B, especially in LA. What is the easiest route? What's the less time I'm going to be in traffic, right? So it's using these 2 points. How do we get there? But GIS, it can do a lot more than just directions. Anything you can think of. So people use it in city planning, local governments, local meetings, city, state, federal government uses it as well for where they're going to use different resources or different operations. Businesses use it, real estate, anything you can think of. People are using
Wow,
location intelligence for their organizations.
that's it. It's really exciting. I I'm probably not alone when I say it's not something that I really thought very much about. But I mean, even when you
Mhm,
consider Google Maps, when you're
mhm,
plotting your destination, this there are millions of points of information that have to be taken into consideration. All of
mhm,
the blocks, the freeway systems, how much traffic is on the freeway. It'll take you to a restaurant if you're interested in Mexican food in a certain geographical region. It'll show you all of the restaurants in that
mhm.
area that serve Mexican food. It's unbelievable.
It is, yeah.
It just seems like it's limitless how this type of technology can be used.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I started working for this GIS company, I didn't know anything about it either. I just kind of took the technology for granted. Nobody really thinks about it. Nobody thinks that there are people who are actually making these algorithms and these maps to make it easier for the consumers. But there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a wonderful technology that I think more people need exposure to, and to start thinking about who is making these maps for us. Who is deciding what information we get access to or not access to. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
that's interesting that you say that people are making decisions, people are writing algorithms, and those
Yeah.
algorithms result in the outcomes that we see in the maps that we use. I know, for example, there are some mapping systems. I forget the name of it, and I actually don't even want to use the name. I don't remember the name of it, but it would
Hmm.
give you a shorter, a less it would give you directions to a location. It would take into consideration traffic and
Hmm.
it would tell you the most direct way to get there and how to avoid traffic. But sometimes, a lot of times, it was giving you ways to get there that seemed kind of dangerous. Like
Hmm.
you would you'd have to cross streets where there wasn't a light and there's a lot of traffic on this street and there's no stop sign. And it got to the point where I stopped using that app because I'm
Hmm.
like, I can't even get across the street because I prefer to use streets where there are traffic lights. I don't like to try to cross a major boulevard at a location where there's no light. But
Yeah.
according to the app, seems like the app didn't know that there was no light there.
Yeah. And I know what app you're talking about. It was
Mhm.
actually bought out by another app that a lot of people use. And it was designed to save minutes for your commute, without taking into consideration what the experience would be like for the writer. And so again, people are not in the rooms to make decisions when they're creating these apps. And that's why we need more people involved when they are developing these things. So these solutions that are supposed to make people's lives easier can sometimes cause more of a hindrance, because what if you didn't see, you're not familiar with that side of town, you can't see, there's no street lights, an accident can easily happen because you're
Yeah.
unfamiliar with the area,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the name of that app, but I know what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
what we're touching on here is that this isn't something that just sort of naturally happens. There are
Yeah.
people involved, and the people that are involved that help to write the algorithms, they see through a particular lens. And
Hmm.
so let's talk about the conference and why the conference was pulled together. How is it that you became involved as one of the people that's helping to put on this conference? How did that happen?
Yeah. So let's take it way back to when I first started. So my profession is in leadership development, learning and development. And I started my first go at GIS was with my very first opportunity to work for a tech company, which is already, it's already a place where I'm not going to see many people that look like me if I'm working in a tech space. But then working for a GIS company was even smaller amount of people that look like me, because it's a very niche field within technology. So when I started at this company, I felt really uncomfortable not seeing anyone who had looked like me. I initially started my career at an academic institution where it's a variety of people, different ages, genders, sizes, any colors, anything you can think of. And then I'm finally excited to get into the tech space. No one looks like me. And it's not just what people look like, but it's also their perspectives. They're bringing their experiences, to the table when we're having the discussions and meetings. And I'm in this space where I look like me. First of all, nobody knows what I am anyway, so that's already one thing. But then there's all these people who all look the same, and a lot of them have very similar and familiar experiences as each other. And so I'm coming into this space, giving my 2 cents in a meeting or collaborating, and it just seems like my ideas are falling on deaf ears. And at the time I was feeling a lot of imposter syndrome and feeling like I just don't belong here. Maybe I'm not equipped to work in this space. And I finally found someone, that looked like me to a degree. And we connected instantly, and I found others who looked like me, but they weren't in the state of California. They were in the East Coast or in Midwest. And so I had to connect with these folks virtually. And what we found is that we all kind of felt the same way in our respective zones in the country. And we created this group of others who look like us in this GIS space. And so that's how and that was a long-winded answer, but that's how we've come to developing NorthStar of GIS, where other people who are Black and Brown across the African diaspora who want to join in this community of other folks who are in the GIS space, who have the same experiences, who want to make an impact on the world, leveraging GIS with our perspectives, using our experiences into consideration of when we're making decisions in our businesses. And I keep saying that, but that's really what it is. Or, combating bias in certain places, proactively preventing something from happening, by using our voice in those meetings, or, reactively fixing and bringing a solution to something that's already been started without our input, and so that's what NorthStar is. It's basically just a group of Black geographers using GIS to make impactful changes to the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you and I had been talking a couple of days ago, and you were giving me examples of how GIS was used, and you brought up COVID, and you also brought up Katrina.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, like I said, a lot of Black people don't really know about this technology and how to leverage it. They don't know it exists. Most people think of just Google Maps, but the technology was there to identify responses or a response rate, or to provide resources to specific communities but no one in the room thought about specific communities to serve. They were thinking about, what their scope of knowledge was. And so a lot of those resources in that time of need was placed elsewhere instead of the people who truly needed it. And so the reason for that is because the company that I worked for, a lot of the times they said, it's when we would ask, how come there's not any, Black people that work here? There's only like 3 or 4 of us, and we have to connect through Zoom, and we're across the globe. And the response was, well, there's just not that many people who are into this. There's not that many Black people. We can't find the talent. No one's interested. No one's applying. And so they were kind of satisfied with that response. And so what we wanted to do is create awareness so more people can get involved, so we can prevent something like Hurricane Katrina from happening, not the storm, but our response rate, so we can support more people, and have Black communities into.
So the distribution of resources was hindered because of a lack of expertise in the GIS community, and a lack of awareness in the GIS community of Black and brown neighborhoods. You froze again.
I know. I don't know what's happening. This is terrible. Is this going to be hard to fix?
I have to cut that little part out, or I can just leave it.
Okay.
Sometimes people are like cool with, hey, this is how it is when these underfunded operations. Yeah. This is just LA Progressive, who's everybody who follows us knows really it's just Dick and Sharon. For 16 years, we've been putting together content for the LA Progressive. And our YouTube channel is just an extension of the LA Progressive. It's still just Dick and Sharon and Nia, Dick's daughter sometimes. But yeah, so that's what happens.
Yeah, I know it's me. You know what it is? There's not enough equitable resources in the Wi-Fi routers and the towers where I'm at. And if someone was in GIS and someone knew about this neighborhood that I live in, they could probably fix that for me, so I wouldn't have to worry about my Zoom cutting out.
Well, that's why we need people to go to this conference. So tell us the name of the conference and when it is, and the mission of the organization.
Yeah, well, I should know the mission. I have to pull up my website. But the conference, let me start with that. The Homecoming Conference is what it's called, because it's really just feels like a homecoming. You're going to go to this space with other people in the field who look like you, who have the same experiences that you do, and are going to talk about ways that they can work together. And so our Homecoming Conference is sponsored by the National Geographic Society. And this conference is designed to be a transformative experience. It's going to highlight Black geographers in the field. It's going to lift up the work of resistance and resilience in Black communities, not just in the nation, but around the globe. So if you wanted to attend, you can expect a wide variety of activities. So hands-on activities, panel discussions where you're going to get a chance to hear and learn from leaders that are in the field. You'll also have an opportunity to network, gain exposure, have different opportunities to just share with other like-minded individuals. And so this year, we are going to introduce a new segment that's going to be focused on our strategic plan and how we aim to deepen our impact, promoting more racial equity in GIS. And it's just a really good opportunity for people to learn about our initiatives, how they can get involved. And it's going to be a learning experience, but also a call to action for people. When they attend, they're going to have an opportunity to see, like, well, how can I make an impact? How can I use this resource? How do I connect with people in my family, even to show them what GIS is and how they can leverage it for their different organizations or their hobbies or their businesses, whatever it is.
Wow, well, that sounds exciting. So I'm looking forward to attending, and I'm hoping that everyone that is listening or reading, because I'm actually going to write a little article, and this video will be embedded in the article. Well, Falon Williams, do you want to include anything else before we say goodbye?
Yeah, so if you are interested in attending, the dates, I forgot to mention that. It's going to take place for Geography Awareness Week. And so we have 2 in-person days and 1 virtual day. So it's a hybrid conference. November 13th and the 14th are going to be in person. If you're in the DC area or on the East Coast, we encourage you to attend. But if you're not, we also have our last day, which is GIS Day. November 15th, it's going to be virtual, and it's intended that way. So that way more folks from whatever time zone you're in can attend and sit in on some of these discussions we're going to have.
Fantastic. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, Falon. I'm so proud of the young woman that you've grown up to be.
Thank you.
I am.
Now I feel
Really
weird. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about my nonprofit. And if anyone is interested, I'm hoping you'll put the website
I
in.
will.
Okay. Thank you
And
so
all the
much for that.
links and all of that information. Okay.
Awesome.
So
Thank
long,
you.
Falon. All
Okay.
righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.